Hi, this is my overhead view. So welcome to a tape measure. Tape measure's got measurements on it, obviously. This one is a dual tape measure. So it's got my centimeters on the bottom half for my friends who are working with metric. But for the rest of the world, other than, well, actually really it's North America, is dealing with the imperial scale, feet and inches. So chances are you probably know more than you think you do. You probably all know your height in terms of feet and inches. So, I mean, I'm 5'7", so 5 foot 7 inches. What does that really mean? Well, there's 7 inches there, so I had 5 feet on top of that, and that's my height there. But beyond that, people usually get a little bit tripped up when they're dealing with stuff smaller than an inch. Because an inch is subdivided into all sorts of tinier units, and they're all in fractions, right? So we're not dealing with the kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeters. We're dealing with, okay, a half of an inch, a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch, a 16th of an inch, really annoying fractions. First off, just that I hope everybody knows, there are 12 inches. Inches equals 1 foot. So hopefully everybody knows that, because again, we're not metric. Boy, wouldn't it be handy if they made it just 10 inches equal to a foot? But no, we're dealing in units of 12 here. So 12 inches equals 1 foot. So 4 feet is 48 inches, right? So you have to do a little bit of math. 4 feet. Hopefully people know that if I put if I'm indicating the height of something, say I was 5 foot 7 inches, I write it like this. So 1 tick indicates that it's feet, 2 ticks, or like the quotation marks, that indicates the inches. So if I was, say, 5 foot 7.5 inches, it would look like that. All right, so I'm not doing 7-1/2 inch. That's wrong. It's, 7.5, like that. Okay, everybody understands that so far. So I talked about how 12 inches equals a foot. So, but 12 inches equal a foot, but an inch itself can be broken up even further. So if this is an inch here, and I'm just blowing it up here, so 1 inch. And down here would be at the 0. Half of that would be a 1/2 an inch. That makes sense. And then between each of those, if I divide this into quarters, those would be 1/4 of an inch. So that would be 1/4, that's 1/2. So this would be 3/4, all right? And then that's your full one. All right, so we're going to now look at measuring stuff in scale, all right? Get a fresh piece of paper here. We're gonna draw some stuff. So what I recommend you do, if you're able to, depending on your kind of setup at home, if you've got a desk that you can kind of follow along with, that'd be great. So that you can kind of do what I'm doing rather than just kind of watching it and then just not retaining it. It's gonna be a lot easier if you kind of work with me here. So first off, if we're working with a scale ruler has a bunch of scales on it. So you have, mine happens to be color coded because I spent the extra $2 to get the kind of color coded one. So it's got like a blue side, a red side, and a white side. The white side here is just my regular kind of standard ruler. So it's the same thing as kind of just your regular standard ruler here that's got my measurements on it, right? So that's in kind of a 1-to-1 scale. So 1 inch equals 1 inch. The other sides though are scales. So I've got the 1 inch scale, which means that 1 inch would drawn here would represent 1 foot in real life. Okay. Then, so 1 inch equals 1 foot in kind of real life. And on the same side, or the same side of this ruler, but on the opposite end, I've got this scale here, which is my 1/2 inch scale, which would mean that 1/2 a foot, 1/2 an inch drawn here would equal 1 foot in real life. Then on the flip side of that, I've got a 1/4 inch. So I've got 1/4 of an inch would equal 1 foot in real life. All right, so the scale is progressively getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I put something up on Facebook the other day when I was proud of myself of this whole kind of contraption thing that I set up. And my cousin, who's an architect, or my wife's cousin actually, said, you know, I always had a hard time wrapping my head around scale. And it was her dad that kind of explained it to her like this. It's like, well, anything can be kind of scaled down. So if I have like, and he used the example of a cucumber. If I had a cucumber, if that was supposed to be in a 1 inch scale, it just means that I would just draw it smaller so that 1 inch, so that this whole cucumber would just show up as 1 inch on the page. And if I wanted that whole cucumber that was a foot long to show up in a 1/2 inch scale, well, now it's just meaning that 1/2 an inch will represent that 1 foot cucumber. And if it's a 1/4 inch scale, it's just a much tinier cucumber. So everything's just kind of scaled down. So you can kind of very quickly realize that the larger the ratio, the larger the scale is, the more detail that we'll have because it's a much larger thing that we're drawing. So using a ruler here, I mean, if I was just using a regular old tape measure to kind of draw stuff, if I wanted something at 4 inches, I would know, okay, that's my tick there, and that's 4 inches to get to here, okay? We kind of all understand that. This scale ruler, unless I'm just in my actual ruler here, it's like, okay, from there to there is my 4 inches. I brought up the fact, though, that you guys should have a separate ruler, if possible, when you're drawing, because there's a couple of reasons for that. To protect your scale ruler, if you're drawing across the edge of it, you'll get graphite of your pencil on the edge of your scale ruler. And then when you're sliding this thing around, it will actually smudge up your drawing. So it's better to actually draw your lines separately and then use the ruler to do the measurements from, okay? And then you can come back with an eraser to make it the length that you need. If you don't have that, if you don't have a secondary one, it's not that crucial today. So let's just, for shits and giggles here, show you that if I draw a line, hey, I've drawn a line, we're gonna measure this in a 1 inch scale. So if I line this up here, and you guys can all see that, I line it up with the 0 at one end, and then I go over to my measurement at the other end. So here I can see that that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Oh, that's good. But what the heck is the 20, the 18, and the 16? Well, that refers to measurements coming from this side, the 1/2 inch scale. So that's 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. So I've got 3. Now I'm dealing in a 1 inch equals 1 foot scale. So that means that that's not 3 inches, that is 3 feet, okay? So that's 1 foot to here, that's 2 feet to there, that's 3 feet to there. So in reality, that's something that is, not long, from 3 feet all the way down to 0 feet, represented in scale. That's how it would measure out. To indicate the dimensions of it, we're not simply going to do 3 feet because that's not overly clear. You're going to add what's known as dimension lines and extension lines. So an extension line is a very thin line kind of coming from whatever it is that you're drawing, just kind of pulling it away from the actual drawing itself. And a dimension line is the horizontal lines with arrows on them, indicating from here to here is 3 feet. The measurements are usually done all at the end. Once everything is already drawn and drafted, that's when you're going to indicate them in. All right, so there's 3 feet there. So hopefully you guys can, we're dealing with a 1 inch scale for right now. So if I wanted to draw something, say at 2 feet, well, I'd put a tick here at the 0 and a tick here at the 2, and then come back with my straight edge or a ruler and draw in my 2 foot. There we go. I've got something at 2 feet. And then I'd go back and put in my extension lines and dimension lines at the end. Never hand draw things like that when you're drafting. It's one thing if you're just kind of sketching it out, but if you're actually supplying it to someone who's constructing, that is bad. So you would always use an actual straight edge to do your measurements from. And when you're doing your extension and dimension lines, you're not just going like this, because to someone who is going to be nitpicky, you're like, okay, you're telling me from here to here is 2 feet, but that's not correct. So you want to actually get in the habit of using extension lines and drawing those dimension lines right to the extension line. There we go, right? So I'd get rid of those there. I'd do the whole thing over again, okay? So always use a straight edge, never do anything freehand, and you always have your dimensions going right to your extension line. All right, so now that's the 1 inch scale. Let's say I was going to do something in the 1/2 inch scale. So I wanted to draw 3 feet in the 1/2 inch scale. Well, all right, there's not even a 3. What the heck? So, well, let me explain. So from here to here is now 1 foot, okay? From here to here is 2 feet. Oh, well, that makes sense. There's a 2 there. From here to here is 4 feet. So that would be 1 foot, 2 foot. This is my 3 foot. Well, why does it have a 9 there? Well, the 9 is, again, going back to this side, all right? It's using the same ticks because it's the difference between a 1/2 inch and an inch is, well, 1/2 inch. So it's half of it. So I could use 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to draw a 3 on it so that you guys can see. Yeah, there we go. So that's my 3. So what I tend to do, I'm doing it in pencil here. You could do it in a permanent marker if you wanted to, is to make it easier on myself, kind of write those in. So I know that that 10 is actually a 1. All right, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's fine. This is 5, and I mean, it's got the 8 because it's from the other side. 6, 7, hey, look, that actually works out. There's always one number that works out the same in both directions. So here it's the 7, 8, and then this would be my 9. So that would be 9 foot. So if I wanted to draw something that was 3 feet in a 1/2 inch scale, I'll do it up here just so that you can see it in perspective. I put a tick at the 3 and a tick at the 0. Come back and draw my line. So I can see that that is now 3 feet, all right, in a 1/2 inch scale. Dimension and extension lines. Okay, so this is what it looked like in a 1 inch scale. 1 inch scale. And here's what 3 feet looks like in a 1/2 inch scale. Okay, hopefully I haven't lost anybody yet, because I'm going to make things much more challenging coming up soon. So let's flip things around to the 1/4 inch scale. So the 1/4 inch scale is even smaller. It's smaller by, well, half from that again. Let me just get another piece of paper, John. Just overlay it on top of that. So here's what 3 feet looks like in a 1 inch scale. 3 feet, what it looks like in a 1/2 inch scale. So let's find 3 feet in a 1/4 inch scale. Well, now it's even smaller. So from here to here, so that's representing a foot, all right? So from here to here is 1 foot. There's 2 feet, there's 4 feet, so 3 feet would be here. Okay, so this tick here. So that 92, what the heck does that have to do with? That's dealing with the 1/8 inch scale over on this side. 1/8 inch scales are evil, and we never like to use those in theater because they're just way too tiny. So we'll get to the small scale that we usually deal with is a 1/4 inch scale. So 3 feet would be from, all right, so that's 1 foot is there, that's 2 feet, that's 3 feet. So I would put a tick here and a tick here, 3 feet is from here to here. And let's just do some faint extension and dimension lines. All right, so you can see it's smaller by half still, all right? So that's now a 1/4 inch scale. All right, so I think everybody's hopefully understanding that so far. It's like, okay, I'm getting it, I know how to draw 3 feet. So let's say that we are now going to draw something a little bit different. Let's say we want to draw something that is, say, 4'6". Dun, dun, dun. Gotta have sound effects in life. So in a 1/2 inch scale. All right, so let's do this. Well, let's do it first in a 1 foot scale. So in a 1 inch equals 1 foot scale. Let's just try that. So I've got my 0 over here. I'm going to put a tick there. And I'm going to find the 4. So I know that that's 4 feet. So that's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot. Well, this is where I can use these 1/2 inch from the 1/2 inch scales. They come into play. So this could be from here to here is 1 foot, but from here to here is 1/2 foot, which is 6 inches. Okay. So I could do 4 foot, 6 inches. All right. Now, the other way that I can do it, a way that I want you to kind of understand, is using this side of the ruler. All these little ticks come into play. So if I wanted something that's 4 foot, 6 inches, I would put a tick at the 4. I would come over here and you see how it goes 0, 3, 6, 9. Well, this is where I can go do a tick at the 6 inch mark. So I've got a tick at the 4 and a tick at the 6 inch mark over here. Okay, because that's 1/2 foot. And then I can come back and draw that in. So this is now 4 foot 6. So let's make it even more challenging for ourselves. Let's say we wanted something that's 2 foot 3 inches. Well, I would have a tick at the 2. So 2 foot 3 inches is what I want to do. Tick at the 2. From here to here is 3 inches. Okay, so pass the 0 and put a tick at the 3. All right, so that's now 2 foot 3 inches. Let's say I want to have something, I don't know, 1 foot 9. Well, let's see, that's 1 foot here, 9 inches is over there. There we go. This is well, let me draw the line first. 1 foot 9 inches. All right, 1 foot to the 9. 1 foot and then to the 9. All right, now I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Let's say we want something that's 2 foot 3 inches. See if you can draw that. Okay, so something that is 2 foot 3 inches would be, well, let's see, I've got the 2 foot 3 inches is easy. 2 foot 2 inches. So now I'm dividing this even more. So here we were dealing with 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, but all of these little ticks, or the medium-sized ticks, if you will, this is 1 inch, that's 2 inch. So you see how, I think you can see it here from, I wonder if that can go, yeah, there we go. I'm gonna try and hold this steady here. So that would be 1 inch there, 2 inches, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, okay? So that's my 1 inch there, that's 2 inches there. So if I wanted to draw something 2 foot 2 inches, I'm going from here all the way to here, okay? Lots of fun. So 2 foot 2 inches, 2 foot 2 inches. Put a little tick at either end and kind of draw it in like so. Boom, boom. Don't freehand. 2 foot 2 inches, like that. All right. So if I wanted, say, something 1 foot 7 inches now, so 1 foot 7 inches, well, there's the 6, so 7 would be the next biggest tick after that. There's my 7 there. Okay, so let's do 1 foot 7 inches. 1 foot 7 inches. It's from there to there. All right. So now I'm going to throw an extra curveball at you. Let's say we want to draw something that is, let's get another sheet of paper here. We are going to draw a box. Or actually, no, I'm going to keep with the line just for a second first, because there's one more thing I want to show you. So let's say we want to draw something that's 2 foot 2.5 inches to make it even more annoying. All right, so it's not just 2 foot 2 inches. So like here would be, say, 2 feet. So 2 foot 1, 2 foot 2 inches and 1/2 an inch, okay, in real life. So how would I draw that in scale, in a 1 inch scale here? So I would go, well, there's my 2 foot. I know how to do that. Go to the 2 to the 0. 2 would be to here, so 2 foot 2. All right, and then the 1/2 inch. So the 1/2 inch is between the 2 and the 3. So if you look between the 2 and the 3, I've got these little ticks here. All right, I've got 1, 2, 3 of them. Those represent 1/4 inches. So the larger of the smaller ticks is my 1/2 inch. All right, so it's that little puppy right there. So the first one would be 2 1/4, and it's 2 1/2, 2 3/4, and then 3. So that's like really tiny. All right, so let's do 2 foot, and I'm gonna break my own rule and go 2 1/2 inches. So you can see it's really almost like the thickness of my pencil. All right, so there's 2 foot 2 1/2 inches in a 1 inch scale. 1 inch equals 1 foot. Whoops, 1 foot. So that's really tiny. Let's try and do 2 foot 2 1/2 inches in a 1/2 inch scale. So now we're over here at this side. All right, so here's my 2. Okay, so from 2 to 0. Here, you'll see that it's so tiny I don't even have my inches indicated here. So you kind of have to know that the first tick would be 3 inches, then it would be 6 inches and 9 inches. So the ticks in between those ones are my individual inches. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so 2 1/2 inches. Oh my God, I can't even like get my pencil in there. It's just so tiny. So let's just give it a try though. Tick there. So 2 inches there, and not quite the 3, but just past the 2. It's like that, 2 foot 2 1/2 inches. So you can see that it's really hard to show 1/2 of an inch in a 1/2 inch scale. All right. It's downright impossible to do it in a 1/4 inch scale, because now if you look at the 1/4 inch scale, let's blow that up there. You can see, okay, that's from there to there is supposed to be 3 inches. From there to there is 6 inches. From there to there is 9 inches. So I can't even see the 1/2 inch. It's not even indicated. Those are my actual inches. So 0, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So it's not even showing up. Like it is like microscopic practically. So that's where I was saying that normally speaking, you don't go to anything smaller than less than the size of an inch if you're drawing it in a 1/4 inch scale.